Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the 9 things that I've done consistently throughout my accounting career that made sure I had the highest salary possible at every single job. And these are the things that allowed me to increase my earnings by over 100% over the last 6 years. So these are going to be things like being certified, solving high-level problems, working for startups. So I'm going to go through these things from the lowest impact, by ranking them by the lowest impact to the highest impact possible on earning power. And so all this is coming right up. But first, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Bill Hanna. I'm a licensed CPA in the great state of New York. I've been in finance for the last 15 years. I worked at PwC as an auditor. Then I transitioned out to become a financial analyst, and then an accounting manager, and then finally a corporate controller, which is what I do today. And this channel is all about giving you my advice, the summary of my experience over the last decade and a half working in finance. So if you're working in finance or if you own a business and you're curious about financial topics, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Number one on my list is working for startup companies. And what I mean by startup companies, these are the companies that are less than 100 employees and typically are pre-profit or haven't become profitable yet. And the reason why you want to work for these companies is that the kind of experience that you'll get working for them is so different from what you'll get working for a large company. When you work for a small or a startup company, you are at the ground level of establishing the accounting team, the accounting processes, accounting policy and expense policy. So you'll get much more exposure to things that you typically won't get exposure to if you work for a similar role in a large company. So you want to make sure that throughout your career journey, you want to work for at least 1 or 2 startups, because then you collect some valuable experience that you can apply toward bigger roles at bigger companies. Number 2 on my list is that I've always tracked my achievements, which means that I've always kept a running list of all of the things that I've done well in the year. And this made it much easier when it came time for salary review or salary increases for me to present this list of achievements to my manager and show all of the things that I've done well throughout the year. And what I mean by achievements are the big ticket items that you can put your name next to and brag about. And these are going to be typically things that add more efficiency to the team and things that are bigger in nature, like implementing a new ERP software or an expense management platform, or if you figured out a new policy, whether it's an expense policy or an accounting policy, or anything that defines or impacts the company in a much bigger way. These are the kind of achievements that I'm talking about here. And whenever you can quantify these achievements in dollar amount, that will help you even more comes time for salary increase. And what I mean by that is things like saving the company money, or things like negotiating with a vendor so that you can show how much you've saved the company. For example, you've saved the company $50,000 and you're asking for $10,000 increase in your salary. That will make it so much easier for your manager to make the decision, and so much easier for them to go back to their bosses and make the decision to give you that increase. So whenever you can quantify the achievements, then that will be much better for your salary negotiation. Number 3 on my list is asking for a raise, because you've all heard the saying, ask and you shall receive. So unless your company has a specific time frame or periodic salary review and increases, you should be asking for a salary increase whenever you think you deserve one, because honestly, if you don't ask for it, nobody would just think of giving you an increase. So this goes without saying, but ask for a raise whenever you think it's fair and whenever you think you have merit to ask for that salary increase.
If you or anyone you know is preparing for a job interview in accounting, be sure to download my accounting interview checklist. It's 100% free and an amazing summary of the most common accounting interview questions. I'll leave a link in the description below.
Number 4 on my list is that I've always acted one level above my role, meaning I've always looked at my manager and looked at the problems that concerns them and keeps them up at night, and always thought about solving these problems. And what that made me to these managers, it made me irreplaceable. It made me really hard to replace. And so when you have somebody who works for you, who's always solving your problems first, you always want to give them the best salary possible, right? So basically, look at your manager and look what problems they're concerned with and keeps them up at night, and look for solutions to these problems and act and behave as if you were in their shoes Whenever you're acting as a role above your current role, you're basically preparing yourself for that upper role, right? So always look at the manager that you have and act in their shoes and solve their problems. Number 5 is that I've solved high-level problems, which means these are the things that the high-level or the executives of my company are concerned with. And to give you an example of that is once my CEO had mentioned to me in passing that he's concerned about abuse to cell phone expense policy. And so I made a note of it, and I went back and I looked at the policy that we have at my company, and then looked at examples of what people are expensing in their expense reports, and then went back to him with an explanation of what the policy is, what people are doing, what looks good, what maybe doesn't look so good, and what are the things that we can do to remedy this situation. So when you attack or tackle higher level problems, these are much more visible problems, and when you are known as the problem solver to those at the top level of the company, then it makes it much easier for you to ask for more money, and it makes it much easier for them to give you that money. And so you should always be looking at those who are at the top of your company and what are the things that makes them worry and what are the concerns they have, and try to solve or provide solutions and proposals to solve these problems. Number 6 is learning financial systems. And so basically throughout my career, I made sure that I know how financial systems work in a company. And what I mean by that is ERP software that runs the accounting function of the company. And so the example of that is SAP software or NetSuite or Sage Intacct, or even QuickBooks at a smaller company level. And basically, I always made sure to understand the mechanics of how financial systems can be talking to each other. So for example, if you're using an expense management software like Abacus or Expensify, it's a great idea to understand how that would interact with an ERP or an accounting software like NetSuite or QuickBooks. So learning financial systems can help you become a much more valuable professionals. And basically, when you look at any job description in accounting, you'll find that that's one of the main things that the company is looking for, which is someone who knows, NetSuite, SAP, or QuickBooks, or any accounting package that they're using. So make sure to learn an accounting software, and the more you know, the better, so that you become a much more rounded professional. So that comes as number 6 on my list. Number 7 on my list is to negotiate your starting salary. So whenever you're leaving a company and going to the next, and you're going through the process of getting an offer from that company, basically make sure that you are getting your worth in terms of salary. So look on websites like salary.com or Glassdoor and look in your specific city and look at your specific number of years or level, whether you're a senior accountant or a financial analyst. Look at the salary range and make sure that you are at the upper end of that salary range, because it's going to be much easier for you to negotiate the salary now before you start the job than if you then try to get a raise afterwards. And also the other benefit to that is that when you're starting from a higher salary, then comes time to the first salary review or increase, you're then increasing from that previously higher salary. So always make sure you negotiate your starting salary whenever it's fair, whenever it's warranted. And that's why I say check on websites like salary.com or Glassdoor and Indeed. These are great resources to figure out what is the range on your city and in your level as an accountant or a financial analyst, and make sure you are at the upper end of that salary range. Number 8 on my list is getting certified. And if you're in accounting, in my view, the most impactful certification you can have in the US is CPA, or Certified Public Accountant. And I remember the year that I got my certification, I was able to get a bump in salary equal to 10% just from getting my CPA license. Because basically, once you have a CPA license, you're viewed as someone who's much more up to date on the accounting pronouncements, somebody who is great at technical accounting. And so getting your CPA license is a major milestone if you're in accounting. So basically look at the state requirement wherever you're located in the US. Look at the education requirement and then the professional requirement. Typically, it's getting a master's degree in accounting and then getting a year, I believe now it's a year, in professional work experience working under the supervision of a CPA, and then get yourself in a CPA review class that will help you pass the CPA exam. The one that I recommend is Roger CPA Review. I'm going to leave a link down below for you to get a discount on that. But basically, getting a CPA license had the biggest impact on my career thus far. Okay, number 9 and the last item on my list today is a little bit more controversial because this is the fact that I move jobs every 2 to 4 years. And the reason why this is controversial is because the typical advice that you get from the previous generation, so my dad and my grandfather, the typical advice was to go work for a company for a decade or two, or even sometimes your whole career, and get to know your job well and do it for your entire career at one company or maybe two, and then retire after that. But basically, the way that I see things are happening now is that more and more people are moving jobs more frequently for a variety of reasons. So I'm going to give you the reasons why I moved every 2 to 4 years, but I'm going to say that if you're happy at your job right now, I wouldn't recommend moving just for the money, right? So don't make a move just for the money. Whenever I made a move for the money, it proven to be a bad move. But there are other factors. So basically, the reasons why I moved every 2 to 4 years are 3 reasons. One is comfort zone. So whenever I felt like I'm in a comfort zone within an employer or a job, I needed to create something different for myself so I can learn new skills, more on a personal level and on a professional level. So whenever I felt too comfortable in a position, I felt the need to make a move so I can grow personally and professionally. Also, moving every 2 to 4 years of my career over the last decade and a half meant that I worked for 8 or 9 different companies, which means that I learned a variety of systems and software. So basically, I got exposure to SAP software, NetSuite, Sage Intacct, and a variety of other softwares, and that makes me much more marketable and just makes me much more knowledgeable when it comes to financial systems. And then the third reason making a move every 2 to 4 years was valuable for me is that obviously whenever I made a move, I got a premium on my salary, right? So every employer is trying to recruit me from the previous one by giving me an incentive or a premium on my salary. But again, like I said, don't make a move only for the money. Let the money be the last reason in your list why you're making a move. Make it more about your growth personally and professionally, and make it more about learning more things, whether it's more accounting systems, different kind of businesses. I work for manufacturing, for software, for services. That makes me much more rounded. So there are benefits to moving jobs every once in a while. However, don't just make it all about the money. All right, guys, that's it for this video. If you liked it, give it a big fat thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.